Daniel Reed was in his late 20s, though hardly anyone noticed. At a massive corporation like RX Global, people didn't judge age, they judged presence. And Daniel's presence was quiet. He didn't speak much in meetings. He didn't linger around the coffee machine. But whenever something went wrong in the system, every pair of eyes instinctively drifted toward the same corner of the office, his desk. For most people, the technology department was a stepping stone. For Daniel, it was exactly where he belonged. When he coded, time stopped existing. He could stare at a single line for hours, catching inconsistencies others would never notice. Because to Daniel, numbers weren't just numbers. They were behavior, patterns, habits. During his first weeks at RX, no one paid attention to him. By the third week, he completed a report that usually required 3 people. By the 6th, he quietly patched a system vulnerability without announcing it. By the end of the 3rd month, managers began saying his name out loud. Promotions followed. Silently. No applause. No announcements. Daniel didn't mind. Being invisible worked in his favor. One evening, near the end of the workday, he was running a routine data check. Usually these checks were dull. Most days nothing came up. But that night, a tiny discrepancy appeared on his screen, small enough to ignore. Small enough that most people would. Daniel didn't. He rolled the process back. One day, then a week, then a month. The same discrepancy, same time window, same user. The system was whispering. The username was clear, Clara Vaughn. Daniel leaned back in his chair. His coffee had gone cold, but he didn't notice. He pulled more data. Cross-referenced timestamps. Checked permission levels. Clara wasn't stealing directly. She was smarter than that. She shifted numbers, rounded figures, tiny movements, individually meaningless, but devastating over time. Daniel wrote the report. No opinions, no accusations, just data. Then he walked into his manager, Mark Ellison's office. Mark listened while leaning back in his chair, occasionally glancing at his phone. When Daniel finished, there was a short pause. "I'll look into it," Mark said. Daniel placed the folder on the desk. "This matters," he said, "and it's growing." Mark smiled faintly. "Everything matters, Daniel, but not everything is our concern." Daniel left the office with a strange feeling, not that the truth hadn't been heard, but that it wasn't wanted. Days passed, then weeks. Mark never followed up, but changes began, subtle ones at first. Daniel stopped receiving meeting invites. His system access was partially restricted. His desk was moved to a darker corner of the floor. One afternoon, he passed by Clara and heard her laughing. "Some people get way too curious," she said. Daniel kept walking. He didn't react, but he remembered. The workload increased. 3 projects at once, conflicting deadlines. In meetings, he was interrupted. In presentations, his name disappeared. None of it was dramatic on its own, but Daniel knew exactly what it was. It was a process. And eventually, processes reach a breaking point. The executive meeting room was full. Department heads, directors, senior managers. Daniel sat in the back. He had prepared the presentation, but no one looked at him. When he stood up, the projector came on. The first slide showed a single sentence. "Systems do not lie." A ripple moved through the room. Daniel spoke calmly. No anger, no defensiveness. He showed graphs, timelines, logs, everything lined up, clear, undeniable. When he said Clara's name out loud for the first time, her shoulders tensed. No one missed it. Her manager, Richard Hale, leaned forward. "Daniel," he said, "you work in technology. Financial processes are complex. You can't be expected to understand them. I'm not explaining money, Daniel replied evenly. I'm explaining data. Richard scoffed. This is business, kid. Your technical charts. These charts match Clara Vaughn's user ID exactly, Daniel cut in. Murmurs spread across the room. Richard's superior, Thomas Green, stepped in. This is a serious accusation, he said, and a clear overreach. Continue this, and disciplinary action will follow. Daniel looked around. No one defended him, but no one challenged the data either. So, Daniel said quietly, you don't want me to talk about this. You're involving yourself in matters beyond your role, Thomas replied. At that moment, the door opened, and the room changed. William Reed walked in. Everyone stood instinctively from fear, from respect. William moved to the head of the table. Continue, he said. His eyes turned to Daniel. What were you explaining? Richard rushed in. Sir, it's a technical misunderstanding. William raised a hand. You left the door open, he said. I heard everything. The silence thickened. William looked at Clara. Is this true? She didn't answer. It will be investigated, William said. Immediately. Faces shifted. The same people who tried to silence Daniel were now watching him closely. William reached for the glass on the table. Several executives rushed forward. Daniel stood. No. The room froze. I'll only drink half, William said. No, Daniel replied. Your sugar spikes later. Grandma will get mad. I'll tell her. A beat. Then William Reed smiled. She would, he said. And in that moment, everyone understood. Daniel Reed wasn't just an employee. He was the founder's grandson. Daniel sat back down. The meeting ended differently than it began. After that day, nothing returned to normal. But not in the way people expected. The mobbing didn't stop overnight, but it transformed. The ones who overloaded him couldn't anymore. The interrupters hesitated before speaking. The mockery turned into forced smiles. Investigations moved quietly. Clara was placed on leave. Richard's office was emptied. Thomas's calendar disappeared. No announcements were made, no statements released. But everyone knew. A week later, Daniel was called into William Reed's office. You hid it on purpose? William asked. I didn't hide it, Daniel said. I just didn't say it. William nodded. There's a difference. He offered Daniel a seat on the executive board. Daniel declined. If I sit there, he said, one day I'll be applauding while someone else gets silenced. William studied him, then smiled. You take after your grandmother. That evening, Daniel went home. His grandmother was in the kitchen stirring tea. I heard about the drink, she said. You did right. Everyone's talking, Daniel replied. She smiled. Let them, as long as you're looking at yourself the same way. Later that night, Daniel opened his laptop. Same code, same systems, same quiet. But something had changed. He no longer felt alone, because he finally understood. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be recognized, and most of the time, it sits quietly, waiting for the truth to be spoken. Daniel placed his hands on the keyboard. The system responded, as always. And once again, it didn't lie.